Good morning, London, and welcome to day one of this inaugural South by Southwest London event, and a special welcome to the Frontier Technologies track. I'm Richmond-Coggan. I'm going to be your MC this morning up until lunchtime. I'm a partner at Freeth Solicitors. Freeths are a large law firm. We've got 13 offices around the country. We are the biggest B Corp law firm. We're the only law firm that's a B Corp in the top 50 in the UK. We are twice Law Firm of the Year this year for Legal Business and City AM. And last week, the Lawyer magazine identified us as one of the 11 firms in the UK which are full-service innovator firms. We've got about 1,200 people across the UK, and I'm very proud to be part of this amazing, vibrant and dynamic firm. So, I'm not here to talk to you about Freeths beyond that. That bit is over. I want to talk to you about moving slow and fixing things, because we're here to talk about and hear about frontier technologies, to hear about the future. And in order to do that, I wanted to start by talking about where we've come from. For almost all of the 4.5 billion years that the Earth has been in existence, life has been present. Gradually, iteratively, in water around deep-sea vents, complex chemical compounds grew and layered and replicated. Nucleic acids formed long chains, capable not only of storing information, but of passing it on almost flawlessly. Proteins and fats and carbohydrates formed structures to protect those nucleic acids, RNA and DNA, which passed on that strand of information. Now, over time, those structures became mobile. They spread out across the seabed, tiny creatures living and dying, their bodies layering and compressing into sedimentary rocks like limestone. Now, variations in those replicating information strands created adaptations. Harsh reality tested those adaptations and favored those most well-suited to their environments. Life evolved. Now, the time frame involved in this is unimaginably vast. For around 9/10 of the time that there's been life on Earth, it's been living in water. Only 480 million years ago, the first land-based plants emerged. 300 million years ago, the dinosaurs came, and 150 million years later, they were still going strong, even as the limestone that I mentioned before started to be compressed under amazing heat and pressure to become marble. Now, over that time, life has endured 5 massive extinction events, drastic changes to the paradigm of which most life on Earth was unprepared and unsuited. Only in the last 6 million years, or about 1.5% of the planet's life, did anything vaguely resembling humans start to emerge. And it took 5.7 of those 6 million years for those proto-humans to evolve into Homo sapiens. The whole of human history takes up less than half of 1% of our planet's life so far. So I've been talking for a couple of minutes now, and you're thinking, does he think he's David Attenborough? I thought he was a lawyer. I thought he was going to talk about regulation. Well, bear with me, I'm getting there. You see, one of the numerous things that makes humans special is that walking upright, carrying things in our hands, we freed our mouths for communication, expanded our brains for intellect and intent. For the first time in the history of life on Earth, a species had emerged which didn't just unconsciously adapt or die with the external changes to its environment. Humans started to shape their surroundings, to impose order onto chaos. We built structures like homes, animal pens, fields, irrigation, bridges, ports, and then we layered those with meta-structures, commerce, religion, politics. In time, we decided that those conceptual structures needed a home as well. We built marketplaces, temples, and palaces. In the most important of these, we dug up blocks of marble and painstakingly cut and shaped them into statues. Think about those statues. It may seem obvious, but a marble block is not a sculpture. A human mind must see the potential within the stone, and human hands must liberate that potential, creating the desired objective. Sculptor Barbara Hepworth said, "Before I can begin carving, The idea must be almost complete. I say almost because the really important thing seems to be the sculptor's ability to let their intuition guide them over the gap between conception and realization without compromising the integrity of the original idea. For almost all of human history, believe it or not, this is also how laws have been made. We start with a problem, with an attempt to impose order onto something chaotic. In our nascent societies, violence and death were disruptive elements, leading to unpredictability, instability. So a law is conceived: you shall not kill. Almost at once, the hard edges of this big block of marble start to come under pressure in the face of reality, often in the face of crisis. How is a populace to defend themselves against aggressors at their gates if they're prohibited from the taking life of enemies, but the enemies are not subject to the same prohibition? How is a person to defend their loved ones or their home if they must also fear legal consequences for their action taken in the heat of the moment? So we get refinement. Sometimes the hands holding the chisel are rulers, politicians, legislating for greater clarity. More frequently in common law jurisdictions, it's the courts that draw out the final shape of the law through careful interpretation, building layers of detail and precision. By definition, therefore, almost every case which comes before a court is on the frontier between what is certain and what is novel. Every decision of a judge chips away a little more of the stone or polishes and reinforces the shape of existing decisions. It's an approach which owes much to the patterns of life that we as humans inherited, iterative, evolutionary. But it is slow. As a species, it took us centuries to identify the need for laws around privacy. Even when a fundamental right to privacy was recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in the aftermath of the data-enabled Holocaust that was perpetrated by the Nazis in World War II, it took decades for that to be converted into enforceable law. Even in areas as clear-cut as the taking of life, we are still seeing cases today about exactly when it is right to take life at the very beginning and at the very end. Now, historically, there have been good reasons for this slowness. Speaking in 2019, the President of the UK Supreme Court at the time, Lady Hale, said, "The courts are also expected to develop the law, especially in the UK Supreme Court, where we're bound by fewer precedents than lower courts. But in doing so, we have always to ask ourselves, what is the borderline between developing the law to meet modern conditions, which is acceptable, and judicial legislation, which is not, and which we should leave to Parliament?" This approach of moving slow and fixing things depends on new problems being identified at the same slow rate that the court system and the legislation moves. But in fact, of course, technological innovation is driving forward with ever-increasing speed, for which legislators have no easy answers. In an attempt to forestall irrelevance, recent laws like the GDPR have aimed to be technology agnostic. That means that they confine themselves to statements of broad principle, rather than seeking to legislate specifically for technology which might well be out of date by the time the law comes into force. But this approach leaves a zone of ambiguity around the frontiers of the law's reach, ambiguity which is an obstacle to those looking to uphold their rights, who must increasingly resort to costly and protracted litigation in order to establish exactly what those rights are. In the meantime, the same ambiguity provides an opportunity for those who look to steal a march in the window between innovation and regulation. The result is that as technology becomes more sophisticated more quickly, the next frontier starts to look like an increasingly lawless and dangerous place. Or, as Naomi Klein described it, what we've been living for 3 decades is frontier capitalism, with the frontier constantly shifting location from crisis to crisis, moving on every time the law catches up. It need not be this way. The same human ingenuity that powers innovation allows us to anticipate and forestall the harms that may come along with it. We can ensure that systems which might impact our well-being are constructed with guardrails embedded by design. That whether we're running data centers or blasting off into space, we do what we can to conserve our planet's resources and work to democratize the benefits of our endeavors. As Dr. Susie Allegre wrote last year in Human Rights, Robot Wrongs, ultimately, what matters is not the machine itself, it is the impact it has on real people. That engages the responsibility of people who design, use, sell, and profit from the technology, whatever form it takes. Frontiers can be daunting as well as exciting, but by keeping the human at the heart of our innovation, we have the opportunity to carve out a better and a more equitable future for all. And with our increasing technological capabilities, that need not even be at the expense of more rapid development. Moving fast and fixing things, that really would be an impressive step in the journey of our young species towards a brighter horizon. Thank you.